My name is Ron Augelli. I own WeTalkShirty.com, and we go by Talk Shirty to me, and we're out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I run a 5-auto shop, and we are mostly a custom shop, and we're getting into the contract game. And that's really our scope of business, is to take care of large volume and output. I would say over 10 to 15,000 garments a week. Impressions really matter, especially when we're in this time of history in the United States with shorthand, staff issues, call-offs, COVID, etc. So finding the right tools and automating in the right areas have definitely given me a competitive edge. And trying new things and getting them into the shop and trying them and proving them to work has really, 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 really been like an Excalibur coming out of a stone, you know? It looked like a bunch of boxes coming in and had to be sorted by size onto a cart. So we put all the smalls onto one cart, rip the tags, and then we would, have a small cart. And then we'd run all the fronts on them and then all the backs, and then they'd have to either go over to our sleeve press or manual press, depending on the item. You know, if it's a fleece hoodie, for example, versus a regular t-shirt. And basically we were doing 4 to 5 extra steps. Sometimes, depending on how big the tag was for the client, I would turn the shirts inside out, which was such a pain in the butt. But at the same time, it was a lot quicker than having to go to a rapid tag and slap it on that little machine and burn little solid. I'm automated. My CTS machine, you could do the hacks or whatever, but then you run into other problems. I came across this Livingston system through a buddy of mine who's a colleague, and he said, hey, give them a call. They just came out with the system. I think it'd do you well for what you're doing. And I said, let me look into it. So I contacted the company, and they said, hey, this is what we got. And I said, you know what, let's do it. Because in mathematical add-ups for contract printing, you print so many a year, it makes sense. Make the investment, and it pays itself off fairly quickly, not just because of what you're putting in the tag, but realistically the cost of labor and time lost in shop that you can't get back. So that's why it was very attractive to me. And on our first impression of getting it, absolutely game changer. I got one to see how it starts working, and I would probably say by the fall, I'll probably have another system in. We're actually running a job right now. I'm watching it out my window, and I'm sitting here in total awe. Like, wow, look at this. Yeah, so we're printing an order for Wu-Tang Clan, and they have 9 different POs out there. We are able to print the full front, which is 17 by 20 oversized print on our oversized boards, and the tag at the same time at one spin. So now we're able to get them on press, off press, into the box and shipped out. 3 days it would take me before to do that same process. First day that I ran the TagBot system, we had a PO drop in our lap last minute. We had to print all of the labels. It was a 3,000 piece order. I was getting ready to go to an impression show in Atlantic City. I accepted the PO knowing that I had to leave the next day. The PO showed up off UPS at 10:30 in the morning, and we printed 3,000 shirts with the tag, small, medium, large, XL, 3XL, and made it back to UPS by 4:30 p.m. Whereas that would, again, take me 2 to 3 days because of the labor of the neckline. I would have never taken a PO if I didn't have this machine, because I'm doing it in one spin, one rotation. I didn't have anybody's hands on it except for loader, unloader, and back and shipper. That's it. From day one, definitely is showing huge progress in my shop. Huge. I have to say the install process was fairly easy. Everything showed up. They were very thorough. There's like, hey, this is going to show up on this date. This is going to show up on this date. This is tracking. It all came in. Then, Ron came in and he installed the whole system. I didn't even know that he was the creator of the system. He found a couple things that were even wrong with my press that I didn't know from the initial install. And he did it over a weekend, so a day and a half. And we were ready to go Monday morning. The training was fairly simple. Most printers, even myself, we don't like change. This is our way, you know how it goes. But it's so easy. You just load it, and then you would kind of cradle it left to right. Because of the mechanism, it centers the shirt, so you're pulling back, dropping it, and then you're just flipping it. Immediately, I'm already seeing the benefits of having it, because I'm saving so much time with my staff. And that's where it is when you have a huge payroll, and 3 days a week is them keep pressing labels on or screen printing them by hand. It just doesn't make sense anymore. Customer service has been great. I tried something new with the oversized pallets. They worked great. And then I realized I needed standard pallets too, because we do band shirts too. So I'm able to interchange depending on the time of the year and what we're running. and it's working out. It's working out really well. To my printers, the one guy, like, if you saw him, he's got like hair from like the hair era, and he's back there like, what the hell is this, an alien that landed in our shop, you know? And he's back there like, ooh, this is great, ooh, this is great, ooh, this is great, you know? I went on it with the mindset like, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be badass, and we're going to be able to run this thing full throttle. And that was my mindset going into it, instead of being skeptical. So if you're a production manager or a shop owner or whatever it is, you know, approach your employees and say, hey, this is going to save us so much time, get them excited about it, and show them that you could do it. If you're a printer yourself, show them how fast you could go. And then when you launch it to your employees, they're in total, wow, look at that, you know, like boom. I'm watching him right now, and he's over there like smiling ear to ear because he doesn't have to send these to the next department. He's like, I'm done after this pile, and he's done. My younger guys really want it. Like, they want the Cobra. I have all the bells and whistle on it, and they're looking at me like, why would you give it to him? You know, and I'm like, because he's the master at doing simulated process, and all of our big band companies that we print for are very large prints, and this is what the guy's good at. So that's the press that we decided to put it on. Being a contract printer, you have to tell them what you're capable of your shop. Like, hey, I do X, Y, Z. And now that I have this TagBot, I'm like, hey, we could do custom tags inside there fairly quickly. Here's our turnaround. Instead of it being an extra 2-3 days, now it's the same day. And they're like, what? Mm-hmm. I'm like, yep, you just have to, this is the size of the logo, here's the specs. If you can meet that requirement, I'm good to go. We're not a huge tag, you know, company yet, but I booked solid already. When you look at the larger scale of marketing in your shop, and you see the bigger companies, you know, such as Custom Ink and Rush Order, they're all putting their logo inside the collar. They're not sizes, it's just their logo. And that's where I'm at right now. We're also a Custom Ink shop, so I also invested into it, and I'm testing it to see if it'll be passable, because I'm able to then, again, print aggressively and get the tag all done in one, instead of it going to another 2 departments before it ships, which then allows me to take more contract work, which elevates my overhead and all my costs. But when I'm doing my custom stuff, I'm able to brand it my own just by putting my logo in it. So the misconception that I got when I brought it into our little round circle of printers, right? So I'm like, hey, what would you use it for? And they're like, oh, we'll just print. I'm like, why wouldn't you just put your logo on everything? And they're like, that's why Ron is the master of branding for Talk Shirty, because everything I have is Talk Shirty, Talk Shirty. But I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you're going to go around once, why wouldn't you? The system's on the machine. You're able to do things that other print shops can't. For example, like, hey, if there's a marathon or a commemorative T-shirt, you could print something cool right inside the tag area for them. You know, that's just one extra thing. You charge them just like you would. I'm not losing any money. I'm not charging any more, and I'm not charging any less. We're really working on standard operating procedures in our shop, and we're really trying to focus and hone in on cross-training everybody in case there's a call-off, or, you know, like bench training. Like I'm the ex-sports guy, so we always train the 6th, 7th, and 8th man to take over the 1, 2, 3 spots, and we're trying to get all these SOPs in. So the free time was quickly filled up by more work. I mean, who wouldn't do that? But the free time that we have is just more production and productivity on the floor with the less stress that they have. There's not carts sitting over by another press waiting to get tagged. There's not the heat press being jammed up. There's not 16 carts waiting to get tagged. They're literally 16 carts loaded, ready to go on press, come off the press, and right back to shipping and receiving. Whereas in the past, before TagBot life, they would be sitting on the floor for 2-3 days because we were backed up with doing tags. You know, when you have to take something off and go somewhere else, it's of course going to create that bottleneck. So I made the jump. I'm glad I did. And the TagBot has definitely cleared that bottleneck for me. And I only see the future of saving me a ton of money, number one, but two, money in labor savings. And I mean, who wants to stare at tags all day long? If you could invest in something every year, I try to make my shop more efficient, and we're automated in every aspect that we can, whether it's our operating system down to, you know, screen reclaim to whatever it is. You're going to start running into, where do I automate next? How can I make myself more efficient? Just don't be afraid to reach out to a shop consultant. I know it sounds weird and it's hard, but don't be afraid to get better. You know, there's no trade secret anymore. You could learn anything that we do on YouTube. And that's where a lot of the shops that I even consult, they get stuck because they just don't realize that there's no shop secret anymore. You could learn anything from just picking up a phone or joining a Facebook group or going on the YouTube, and just don't be afraid to learn. And this is a prime example of, hey, this looks like maybe some kind of hocus pocus or a gimmick or something like that. But once you start seeing it used, and once you have it in your hand and you're like, wow, where was, just like you just said, like, where did this come from? We all know about the tag one. We understood it. We get it. And then it got better. The innovation that came out, then that's behind it. This is by far probably one of the better investments I made this year besides another press. The biggest thing I would say is just to invest your time wisely, because you can't get time back. I mean, let's face it, you just can't get it back. So if you could save it and do things better, why would you not make that change, right? Like, it just makes perfect sense. You own a shop, stuff's gonna go wrong every day. Like, let's face it, things are gonna go down. You have to expect it, but realize just to loosen up. And if you make the right investments and you invest in the right people, and like my consultant said, shop culture is everything. If they have the right mentality and they have the right forward thinking as you do, and you keep yourself calm and collected, they'll follow suit real well, and they'll follow the processes. And once that's in place and you have this awesome technology and automation behind you, you're just going to keep scaling. You'll keep being able to grow. And that's the key word, is scale. You know, like, you get production and sales, production. And if you're out selling production, you're going to start creating a bunch of Band-Aids. And what the TagBot has done for me is taken, sales, which we're able to create, close that gap closer, because we're able to do something that will take us days and bring it almost in level with production. So when season comes and you're like that close, you're not throwing Band-Aids and just throwing money out the window. You're actually making a profit. And that's what I see this TagBot doing for my company, honestly.